Hello, my name is Darrell Bennett. We've come to the most powerful and cataclysmic watershed moment in our nation's history. A racial and spiritual awakening such as America has never seen before. And the question becomes, how did we get here? As a people, as a nation, as a community, how do we come to this place? Of course, everybody can point to the tipping point, the murder of George Floyd, which we all watched. There's not one of us who are Black who cannot point to someone in our family, who cannot point to whether it's a parent or a child or a sibling, who this has been done to. Maybe it did not result in murder, but it resulted in oppression. It resulted in hurt. It resulted in degradation of rights. And we watched that video of that officer bearing down on George Floyd's neck. And it brought back to us memories, not only of people that we've known and we've loved, that the same thing has been done to, but memories that have been transmuted and transmitted to us through the generations from our ancestors, who themselves bear in their body and their spirits and their souls the seal of slavery, which though it has evolved, it has not ended. Many, of course, have asked the question, who killed George Floyd? Who did it? I want to talk about what killed him. It was hate that killed him. It was a spirit of division that killed him. It was a refusal to accept, to recognize the sanctity of humans and the sanctity that God resides in every human being. That's what killed him. A hate that permeates even to this very day. A hate that I would suggest to you has gotten stronger, more subtle, but stronger. It is ingrained in the very systems and structures that we call America. That's what killed him. Now, we can all talk about that one officer who had his knee on George Floyd's neck as he begged for his life and as he pleaded for mercy. And we watched that officer snuff his life out. But what about the three officers who were right there, who heard the cries, who witnessed him begging, and they did nothing? It wasn't just hate that killed George Floyd. It's not just hate that brought us to this point. It's complicity. It's silence. A silence that we as Black folks know all too well. Silence of ministers in pulpits who talk all about Jesus but nothing about justice. Silence from CEOs and corporate executives who have these great, big, wonderful, spectacular diversity initiatives, but speak nothing about the issues that affect our communities. Silence in the halls of courtrooms and in rooms and positions and places of power. Silence cloaked in legality, cloaked in religion, cloaked in politics, but is really just complicity. And the question becomes, what are you going to do now that you've seen the suffering? What are you going to do now that you've witnessed the horror? Your silence is not just complicity, but it is a condemnation. The time is coming, and now is, where you can no longer pretend as if you being silent means that somehow you're not picking a side. You have picked a side. I think of the words that Mordecai told that young Hebrew woman thousands of years ago, but it still rings true through the corridors of time. Mordecai speaks to Hadassah, who he had raised, who he had watched ascend to the highest position that a woman could ascend to in the Persian Empire. She was now queen. And he comes to her and says, there is a plot against your people. And if you remain silent when justice demands action, you will be judged. Perhaps the people of America have come to this place here, to this moment, to this season for such a time as this. And the question is, what will you do?